Where is your place? I can remember as if it were yesterday climbing Mount Princeton in the Arkansas River Valley in south central Colorado, the 15th highest peak in the Rocky Mountains. Sure, there are higher ones, but there aren't many that are more beautiful, more majestic. You drive down the valley, flat and winding, lush with agriculture and dotted with hot spring resorts. And there it is, rising, towering over the town of Buena Vista, or Buena Vista if you're local. Most people would start the climb early in the morning, just as the day was breaking, so as to be able to reach the summit, enjoy the amazing view, and get back down to safety before the inevitable summer afternoon thunderstorms. That's what most people did. That's what I had done on Mount Princeton and many other 14ers, peaks whose summits are over 14,000 feet in elevation. It's a thing in Colorado often referred to as peak bagging. Some 14ers were easy and gave a false sense of accomplishment for not that much effort. I wasn't interested in that. My two friends and fellow youth ministers and I wanted to do something different. We didn't want to do what everyone else was going to do. Why start early in the morning with the dozens of other climbers? Nope. We decided we would climb Mount Princeton by moonlight and sleep at the summit. That would challenge us, get us out of our comfort zone, out of the ordinary. So we pulled up to the small parking lot at the base, miles up a dirt road in the national forest at around sunset. A half dozen other cars were there, their occupants cooking over a camp stove and organizing their packs so that they could be the first on the trail in the morning. They weren't going to be like all those irresponsible peak baggers who show up at 6 or 7 in the morning and just start hiking up the trail. No, they knew what they were doing. You can imagine how confused and flummoxed these folks were when we pulled in, ate a protein bar, geared up, laced our boots, put on our full packs, and started up the trail. Several attempted with all kindness to stop us, informing us that it was not advisable to hike up a mountain in the dark. Mind you, none of them knew that one of my companions on this journey was a full-time backcountry guide in the valley and knew these mountains better than they did. The first time we attempted this journey, it snowed so heavily we had to turn back and seek shelter on the mountainside. This was in the middle of July, by the way, and we awoke in the morning to around 8 inches of snow on top of us. It got the attention of all three of us that nature can upend even our best planning, and we are rather out of control of it. The next time, however, was perfect. 4 to 5 hours of hiking and climbing a moonlit mountain under a star-filled sky got us to the summit around 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and there was just enough space for 3 sleeping bags to spread out for our brief sleep. But before falling asleep, I remember just looking both up and out. All I could see were the faint shadows of mountains and countless stars. I remember feeling so small as I saw on a whole new scale how truly vast the universe is. That moment alone made the planning, the aborted attempt, and all the effort of the successful climb worth it. I wonder, where is the place you most experience the vastness, the bigness, the grandeur of the world? And I wonder what kinds of feelings that experience elicits for you. You see, sometimes realizing how truly grand God's creation is can lead a person to feel insignificant. It can lead to asking how one person could matter much in the grand scheme. On the other hand, getting this perspective can also lead us to see, to be amazed at, to stand in awe of the creative and loving vision of our God. I've had moments where, realizing God's awesomeness, I felt that awe turn to fear. Fear that I couldn't possibly matter to God, like the all too common saying, God's got bigger things to worry about than me. Fear that I will, or my hurts will, or my needs will just get lost among not only the brokenness of humanity, but all the other complexity and adversity in the world. Well, we're not the first to have this experience. In fact, this notion of being in awe of God pervades the Scriptures, and in particular the Psalms. Even our ancient forebears had their place where they could do nothing but proclaim their awe and adoration of God. If you were here last week, you'll remember that I said that this Lent, I will invite us each week to take up, to reflect on, to ruminate over, to luxuriate in a simple but profound verse from the psalm appointed for that Sunday. I reminded us that the Psalms give expression to every possible facet of human experience. Today, the first verse of our portion of Psalm 22 puts to beautiful and apt words our experience of God in those places like the summit of a mountain in the moonlight. It says, "Praise the Lord, you that fear him. Stand in awe of him, O offspring of Israel. All you of Jacob's line, give glory." Praise the Lord, you that fear him. Stand in awe of him, O offspring of Israel. All you of Jacob's line, give glory. Praise the Lord, you that fear him. Stand in awe of him, O offspring of Israel. All you of Jacob's line, give glory. You see, right there in the Psalms, we're reminded that a sense of fear and standing in awe of God go together. And more importantly, right there in this verse and what follows, we, like the person who composed this psalm, are assured that despite the experience of the awesomeness of God, we also know God's intimate knowledge and perfect love of each one of us. God doesn't even despise those who the world despises. While it may be true that we could never know as deeply or love so completely even one other person, this close and loving relationality is essential to the very nature of God. Each one of us is, in some unfathomable way, the single greatest aspect of God's creative work. Let me repeat that. Each one of us is, in some unfathomable way, the single greatest aspect of God's creative work. Each one of us matters completely to God, regardless of how vast the universe seems to us. You, in all your complexity, with all your giftedness, and all your brokenness, matter to God. That incontrovertible reality of our faith is more awe-inspiring than the view from the top of Mount Princeton. I hope we can remember today that while we may at times feel small, invisible, or insignificant in the vastness of the world we inhabit, our awe of God and God's creation actually can draw us deeper into an intimate, loving relationship with our Creator. I hope we can remember today that when we find our place, when we go to that place where we encounter the sheer awe of God's majesty, that you and I are deeply known and completely loved by God. You matter to God. And for God's awesomeness, God's awesome creative power in making even you and me, even if we at times feel invisible or insignificant, for God's life-giving love for us in that creative act, with our whole heart and body, soul and mind, we give thanks.